My name is Eddie C, and welcome to My Positive Podcast. I'll bring you positive stories of people from all walks of life, because everyone has a story to tell. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to MPP, My Positive Podcast, and I'm your host, Eddie C. And I'd like to wish you all a very healthy and happy 2023. I hope you all start off the year on a good note with a lot of positivity and good vibes your way. And let's try to make this year not only pleasant for ourselves, but those around us. I want to tell a little bit about my next guest before we get into the interview. She's very much into horses. She's into painting. She's a physiologist. And I just say a world citizen in many ways. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and stay positive. My name is Eddie C, and you're listening to My Positive Podcast. My next guest is a very special lady. We met some years ago, and she's very much into horses, so I consider her like a horse's whisperer. But she's also into art. She's a physiotherapist, and she's into mylogenics. Please welcome my next guest, Miss Nathalie Van Kooten. How are you, Nathalie?
Good morning, Eddie. I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for having me on your podcast.
Well, I'm very honored to have you on the show as well. So can you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself?
Okay. Well, starting as a young girl, falling in love with horses, my dream goal was to work with horses. And on a certain moment, I was in school studying, but still the horses were pulling me away from school. And on a certain moment, my parents told me, well, if you really want to go after those horses, just go out and do it. But you got one chance to take or a study, or otherwise you're kind of on your own and make your own money and start working with horses. And well, I took off at the age of 16, working with horses.
All right. I can relate to that. I left when I was 19. And at one point I said to my parents, I'm just going to be a musician, you know, and they weren't happy with it in the beginning. But later, when they saw what I accomplished, they were very proud. You know, that's how it works in life. You got to follow your dreams. You
got to follow your dreams. And it teaches you at the same time that if you really, really want something, you just have to go out and do it. Go after it.
You got to put the work in, and then it's worthwhile.
And then you become very creative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. So you started with the horses. At a certain point, that became your livelihood.
Well, I started working with horses, training young horses, competing horses. Also worked as a groom for international riders. And on a certain moment, I was like, okay, horse business, it's kind of a small world. So I decided to step out of it and see if there was more. So I ended up in a corporate company, and it was a multi-level marketing company with cosmetic products. I ended up as a product specialist, did conventions for distributors all over Europe. And I just went out and did it because I never saw a computer before. So the first day at the office, I was a bit confused because I didn't even know how to put it on. But I took a notebook, asked some questions, wrote everything down, because when you ask something once, there's no problem. When you come back and ask something like 7 times, then they begin to wonder, why is she even here? And that's how I found my way. And but still, the horses were like a big line through my life. And I missed working outside, working with the animals, being out in nature. On a certain level, I got married, I got a son, got a beautiful son. And sadly, we divorced. And then I met my husband from now. And we sat down and we had a very honest talk about life. And where are we here right now? And then we made a promise to each other. From that moment on, we decided we're only going to do the things that we love and things that really are touching your heart. So I picked up studying again, found the mylogenics practitioner course, and started treating humans as well, in combination with personal training. And from there on, I decided I had my horses checked out by a veterinarian, some chiropractists. And then I was like, okay, but I have had some crashes from a horse and always got back on their back. And I was wondering how much of the problem around the horse came from myself, from being having problems in my own physique. And from there on, I started working with both horses and riders. And because of I have been riding horses, when I touch a horse, I can tell somebody, the owner, how it feels when he's on the horse, and I can also translate it to the rider itself.
Wow, that's very special. Can you tell us a little bit more about mylogenics?
Mylogenics really is an amazing way to treat people. It came from two physiotherapists from the army. They were kind of wondering why all the Marines who had an accident, why did it take so long to recover? And they also found out that many of the Marines had a loss of function. And the loss of function, that's kind of hard for a Marine guy who has to trust on his body. So they kind of looked around in all kind of streams. And then they came to the animal world, and they were wondering why does an animal in nature recover so much faster than we humans do. And it starts with an animal in nature always continues to move. Because when they don't move, they become food or they starve. And when we get a problem or we fall down from a stair, we sit on the couch, we put our leg up, we put eyes on it.
Right.
So the only thing that we do is you kind of push the problem forward. And because of the swelling, and if you don't move, the swelling stays there, and it stays there like a sticky kind of glue between the muscles. That's where the real problem starts. And most of the time when people come to me, the problem they tell me, it's like the compensation of something else. So you have to look in the whole chain. And for me, that was a natural way of looking at people as well, because It's the same with horses. When they have a problem on the left foreleg, most of the time it comes from the right hind leg. So it's throughout the whole body.
Right.
So for me, it was like, it clicked immediately. And the most important thing is when you treat somebody with mylogenics, the most important thing is you start asking function again to tell the muscles or that part of the body how it was supposed to be used. And that's what we do with horses all the time. Every day we tell the horse, we want you to bend a little bit more on the left, bend a little bit more on the right, pick your leg up a bit faster, become stronger here.
Right, exactly.
And the funny thing with people is, for example, when we take the mobile phone or our computer, as soon as we have a crash, today, everybody got their phone fixed because we can't live without it. And that's the weird part. It takes so long before people start cleaning up their own hard disk.
Absolutely. You touched some very important points, and we've become a society that's dependent on our smartphone. I mean, you go out the door and you leave your wallet, that's not a problem. But if you go out the door and you leave your smartphone,
you're amputated.
You're amputated, in fact. That's quite interesting that you mentioned it. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Sometimes I will go out the door on purpose and leave my phone behind. And basically when I take it with me, it's because I want to take pictures with it. It's more like a camera in most cases, although it's starting to function more than my computer, in fact, for, paying the bills and you checking your emails. So it's become like a little small pocket computer. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of human communication with each other because of the modern technology. There was a time when you would go to a bank and you had a banker. You had, direct visual contact with that person. And now everything has to be done online. If you call to have something repaired, it has to be done online, or you have to send it in, and it takes away the personal communication that we are so dependent on as people. We don't realize how much personal communication is. I mean, you would think after Corona that a lot of things would have changed, but it's like we're going back into the same wave that we came out of.
Most of the people still work from home. And that's why I love my job so much, because the only way to work with either horses or their owners, the riders, is from that connection. You can't fool a horse. I mean, and you really have to be in that moment. When I walk in any stable with my own hidden agenda and being busy in my own head with other things, I will never find that connection with that horse.
I can understand that because you can't speak a language to it other than the language of feelings. And that's what the horse understands, you know.
They pick up the intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I know you're also doing some portraits as well. That started out as a hobby for you, and you've actually selling some of your work as well.
Yeah. Well, as a little child, I don't have brothers and sisters. So during the holidays with my grandparents living in Spain, I spent a lot of time drawing. I was really drawing everything from Walt Disney all the time. And I think it's about 7 years ago that I realized, when we were talking about doing what you love, that I realized that I forgot the whole drawing part. And my parents gave me a birthday present, and they asked me, what would you like to do with some money for your birthday? And then I picked up drawing again, took a course with pastel paintings, and I took the class with a lady who made animal portraits. And it started from there. I was drawing some of the horses from friends of mine, or a dog who passed away. And every time when I delivered a picture, the people were just sitting there looking at staring at the drawing, and started crying, because they were really telling me, it is my dog, it's my horse. Because for me, it all starts with the eyes. I always start with the eyes. And the funny thing is, when I start with the eyes and there are two eyes really looking at me from the paper, then I know I got him. And well, on a certain moment, you can draw anything from pictures from Google, but I prefer to make a drawing for somebody as a gift. And from there on, people ask me to make a portrait of their beloved dog or horse. And yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We're going to touch a very sensitive subject that you told me about. And I was actually quite shocked to hear that when we spoke to each other. And you got diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 51. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, that's correct. Last May, I felt there was something wrong. We had a very stressful period. So in the very early stage, I was like, okay, there's something wrong. What can I do to get over that? So I took a closer look to my own food patterns, vitamins, things like that. But I couldn't turn it around. So I went to the doctor. And actually, when I asked her to send me to a hospital to find out what was going on, I already knew. And she was a bit surprised when I told her that. And the outcome was correct. So it didn't really come as a surprise at that moment. But from there on, there started quite a challenge, because I'm not a person who is dancing around in all the protocols. I mean, I'm willing to follow the protocols if somebody can explain me why I should do it that way. But I also had my own questions.
Right.
So it took me a while, and finally in July I found an hospital and an oncologist who was willing to sit down, hear my story, and she was like, "Okay, tell me your story, then I'm going to tell you what I can do for you, and then we're going to find a way together." So actually, in October, I had my surgery. Quite some time over it. In the meantime, we took our bikes and rode Tuscany, because that was something we already had planned. And I was like, at first, we wanted to do the tour in Tuscany on our bikes, because after surgery, you don't get on a bike in 2 weeks again for 3 weeks Tuscany. I had the surgery. Everything went well. In 2 days, I was out of the hospital again. many people surprised how that was possible. And then came a shocking outcome that they found a very rare form of cancer, an aggressive form of cancer. And of course, it's like when you hear something like that, you're kind of knocked down. And on the other hand, I was like, okay, nobody can tell me how this form is reacting. The only thing they can tell is it's an aggressive form. Right now, I know it's on several places in my body, and still nobody knows when their last day will be. And that's what keeps me going. I mean, they told me the message is not good. Chemo doesn't work on this one. And actually, I'm glad that I stayed away from chemo, even though they advised it. Because then the hospital was like, at least we have done something. Well, if I would have danced that dance, I would have been halfway already. So from there on, of course, you have a lot of talks in the open with my son, with the family, about how we're going to cope with this. And I write a lot on my own Facebook page. And I decided to share it with the people around me. And I really asked a question for help. And the question is, continue to work together with me. And please let me do what I love to do the most. So I continue to work with horses. And in the meantime, I'll try to stay as fit and healthy as possible. And talking about your phone and your camera, the most important part of my phone is the camera. And I have a little tattoo on my wrist, and it says little things. And for me, those little things, a ray of sunlight, a rainbow, it can be anything. But these are the little gifts every single day, even if a dark day starts because you don't feel too good.
Very inspiring listening to you tell your story. My listeners will also be quite inspired by, what you're telling us. And I only have a lot of admiration. You're warm. You have there's a whole special aura around you that is very positive and warm. And if people were to see you, they would feel that as well. But they'll hear it in the conversation for sure.
Well, when I look back at the last 6-7 months, I think that the mail delivery man, he really knows who I am, because it's what happened on our front door with flowers, with little gifts, with cards, but especially the little messages that people send. And they came from really everywhere, from clients with horses. And it's so heartwarming. And being able to share this story, my own story, with them, and being able to be honest about how I feel from day to day, that I don't have to keep up some appearances, and being able to continue the work that I do, and being a mom for my son, and being an inspiration for him as well. That you don't give up, just go and do whatever you love to do. And as long as you do the things that make your heart make a little jump a little faster, I mean, then there are so many possibilities in front of you. You never know when your last day will be, so you better live life to the fullest.
That's right. Yeah, and every day is a gift.
No.
That's it. That's just true. I know you mentioned your son a couple of times. I mean, when I saw him once or twice, but he was still quite young then, because it's been some years ago since we saw each other last. How old is he now? Because you mentioned that he has his own business now, you were saying.
Yeah. Well, he's next month he'll become 18.
All right.
So he was like 10, I think, when we met.
Yeah, right.
And he had some rough times as well. Struggle in school and couldn't really find his way. And then you got all the organizations and the protocols again. That's not my thing. It's not his thing. And it has been kind of a roller coaster. And in the end, it all came back to okay, what do you really want to do? I mean, life isn't all only about having a piece of paper or graduate from this or that. I mean, and now he's working, making beautiful gardens, working with his hands outside. Outside, just like his mom.
Yeah, I say the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got one more question to ask you before we close out. Mm-hmm. What would be your main advice, let's say, to not only young people, but people in general, about how you foresee the future?
How do I foresee the future? Well, with the message that I received, I think the most important thing is to, I really sat down and had a close look to what are for me, the really important things that I really, really want to do. And because I don't know how much time there's left, I mean, could be years, could be months. Some of those things, I just picked them out, and I'm not going to wait until next summer, or I'm going to do them next month, actually. And I can't say anything about it because it's kind of a surprise for somebody else.
All right.
But that's, I think, the most important thing. When you see people retire, before they retire, they're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that after I retire. And how many people just after retirement just drop down?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's something that I promised myself. I've always done my own thing as a musician over the years, and I have a lot of other ambitions that I like. The spiritual minded person with being in contact with, there's more, that the universe has to offer you. And, I've actually have gone in retirement, but I'm busier now than I was before a few years ago. And I enjoy every moment of it because it keeps you young in spirit. It keeps you vibrant, and you start to discover so much more about yourself than actually when you were busy doing all of this hard work to pay the bills and everything each month. You find out that, like you say, those little things are the most important things in your life.
I think the most important thing, and then we get back to the communication again, is to really keep the communication open, to stay open-minded. For people are judging so easy these days.
Yes.
And when you want to get in touch through WhatsApp, that's okay. But when you see that somebody starts writing a book, I'm always the one who picks up the phone, and I'm like, hello.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
When I said to you, I'm going to call.
Yeah.
Because words can be misinterpreted.
So true.
And depending on the mood of the person reading the words at the time, and there's so many elements around it. So when you're speaking with someone, you can hear on their tone of voice and just basic back to school communicate with each other. I find that for me, that's a very important thing. So I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story and a bit about your life. I know there's so much more we could talk about, and we will definitely be in touch more in the future. I think on behalf of me, and not only me, but my listeners, this has been a very inspirational conversation with you. And I'm very grateful that you took the time out and came on the show. And that's the nice thing about this, is that people will be able to listen to it over and over again in the coming years. I just wish you and your loved ones a lot of love and strength the coming time, and all the support that you deserve.
Thank you so much. And say, like a closure, we went through the last Phil Collins concert here in the Netherlands, and it was called We Ain't Dead Yet.
All right, fantastic.
And that's how it is. I mean, I have a lot to do here. So I'm not gone. Not now. Not in a year. Thank you so much.
Stay with us for a long time, sweetie.
I will.
All righty. Take care.
Thank you.
And a lot of love to you.
Same to you. Thank you.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. This is MPP, and I'm Eddie C. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Nathalie. Wow, what a wonderful person, and how she's dealing with things in her life at this moment. She's a role model for a lot of people. So let's talk about the little things for a few minutes. I think the little things are the things that mean in the long run the most in our lives. We have a tendency of taking a lot of things for granted, and most of the time it's the little things that we take for granted. Whether you are being able to drive your car and it's working, or waking up in the morning, or looking out of the window, or to be able to see what kind of weather it is, you know, having that glass of water on a hot, thirsty day, your kids, your family, friends. I mean, I can go on forever about the little things. We have a tendency of surrounding ourselves with a lot of materialistic big things that seem to make our lives more comfortable. But down at the end of the day, if you really look at it, the little things, like just being able to breathe fresh air, or have a cold glass of water, a meal, your family, your friends, being able to have good health, and very important, being able to share your knowledge, your wisdom, and your experiences with others. Be the light that they may not be able to see. Those little things matter most. So on those words, here's my quote. Little things. A ray of sun captured through a window. The look in the eyes of a child when receiving a gift on a holiday or birthday. That warm sand underneath your feet on a summer day at the beach. A hot drink on a chilly afternoon when you take a break. Walking through a park alone or even with a friend. Listening to the sounds of nature as you pass through its trails. When you come home after a busy day at work and enjoy your free time. A conversation with a dear friend that makes you feel good. To wake up in the morning and just be glad to be part of another day. Well, that's about it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank my guest, Miss Nathalie Van Kooten, for coming on and sharing her story about her life and her dreams and plans. I also want to thank you all for the support you give over the years, and you can become a Patreon as well on My Positive Podcast if you go to my website, mypositivepodcast.com. So, once again, remember, the little things matter most, because at the end of the day, it's those little things that become the big things in your life. Until next time. You can find me on all platforms like Spotify, Android, and Apple. On Facebook, look for My Positive Podcast, and my website is mypositivepodcast.com. You can also contact me via my website or Facebook. A very special thanks to my technical producer, Iswan. This show is a production by Antwerp Podcast Service. My name is Eddie C., and this was MPP, My Positive Podcast. Tune in next time and stay positive.